Well, not so lucky again this year. No, definitely not having as bad of a time as folks up north. So it's quite frosty up there, but right now I'd say it's about 70-ish degrees here in the Tampa Bay area. And but it's going to plummet down tonight, like into the 30s. Fortunately, our daytime temps are looking pretty good. Like I'd have to go back and double check, but like lowest daytime temps like maybe mid to high 50s. I think we're looking at like 60s and 70s for the next week. But the real issue is just our nighttime dips. As soon as that bright Florida sun goes away, the cold catches up with us. So that's really our only buffer. And so we do have some challenges here, especially if you're zone pushing like myself. And so again, I did some videos already on this year. We had a couple of nights that got a little frosty. As you can see, the bananas are already flacked back. So I'm a little concerned about that. You know, since things have already been damaged, it's going to be an even longer duration of cold on average. I think thankfully most of the nights are probably going to be above 33 degrees, but it's just a couple of days where like the forecast is saying, you know, 32, 33, and which for me and other folks in the eastern side of Hillsborough County, that usually means, we're probably going to see about 3 to 4 degrees lower than what's actually predicted. I know here when it says 32, I've seen temperatures like 27, 28. Now that's only for, the early morning. So I've shared my charts on Tropical Fruit Forum on some of the freeze threads. But it really is like a V shape where like it's warm and then all of a sudden it goes down to the lowest point, which is usually around between 4 and 7 a.m. in the morning, where 7 is like the coldest. That's usually when frost starts forming too. So really we're just trying to get through that 4 o'clock to 7 o'clock into 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock when the sun pops back up, because that's when things really are warming back up. And so anyways, we have to get past that cold, and make sure that things don't get too burnt from any potential freezing conditions like frost or actual. I don't think we're going to get a hard freeze. It's not long enough for that. I think you can see some hard freeze damage on some things, but that's not typically a concern here. I think that's like a freak thing that happens once in a blue moon. If that did happen, I'd be out here all night. I'd probably go and like get some like fire pits to burn wood next to some things if that was the case. But it'd be interesting to see because this Quaimuck right here, I know I showed it before, it's putting out some new growth. We'll be able to see if that new growth gets frozen off or not over the next week. I'm not worried about this tree at all. But I do have several trees that are too big to cover, or at least with the material that I have. Like, the jackfruits are as tall as the house. Some of the jabos, like, they're pretty big. I could cover them. But like the sabra, even if it lost all its leaves from cold, it would probably just grow back. Like, I'm not worried about that. So it really is just these like ultra tropicals. Like, they're not even really ultra tropical, I guess, but like the achacha is one that I'm always very concerned about, just because it takes so long to get stuff off of it. And Garcinias are just slow growing, and I love the fruit, so I don't want to have to like get set back any more than I already have been with the hurricanes. But I've got this barrel of water here that it's going to retain some heat, so it'll get wrapped up, and I might even add some more water to it just to give it more capacity. But keeping it like right up against that, a cha-cha, and then I'll wrap the top once in frost cloth, and I've got like a zipper one that I put over it too, so it's going to have 2 layers. That'll go around that, and that'll kind of like, the heat will rise, and the ambient around it as well will keep it a little warmer. So hopefully enough just to buffer it. But honestly, most of the things that I have, like these smaller Garcinias, because the ambient temperature isn't getting too low and they're small enough, I can just put pots over the top of them. And something I've been doing too is taking all this like dead grass that I pulled out. I've got like a pile of dead grass over there from when I was working on the front yard. I'll just kind of put the pot on top of it and then pile the dead grass around it, just to give it a little bit more heat retention. So I've got little pots all over the place. So I've got a couple of Garcinia seedlings in the ground here that I'll be putting these little tiny pots over. And I usually put like 1 or 2 pots stacked on top of it, and then I'll just kind of like put sticks around them to make sure they don't get blown over. I do have to check every now and then because sometimes the raccoons like to come through and just like pull the pots over. And I actually had that happen with one of my Macrophylla doacres over there, and it went through an entire frosty night without being covered. So obviously it's okay, but just something to keep an eye out for. Some of the bigger ones, bigger Garcinias, I'm having to do some things with. So I got these sawhorses that I built a while ago, and they are actually pretty dang good for using as like a support for frost cloth. So I guess I'm going to just talk about some other strategies I have for, it's stuff that I've been just kind of figuring out on my own for the last couple of years dealing with cold. But the sawhorses are great because you can kind of put them right up against it. And I'm focusing more so on the north side, right? So I might even pull this one a little further away, but I'll be able to keep the frost cloth from directly touching the leaves, which is, you're always going to get burned if you get frost, if the leaves are touching the frost cloth, like you're pretty much guaranteed. So this kind of helps buffer that. And then on top of that, because it's kind of like thicker, like this point here, the wind's going to be blowing this way. So I get a little bit of protection as well, because this is, a good foot or so, or I don't know, 10 inches of wood that kind of buffers the wind. So hopefully the wind's just going to kind of blow over the top, and maybe this wood even retains a little bit of heat because it's got some moisture in it too. So I'm not sure what the efficacy of that is, but it seems to work pretty well. Some of the larger Garcinias here, like I can put a 25-gallon pot over that, and then you can see I've just put the dead grass around it. I've got like an array of seashore mangosteens over here as well. These ones are a little bit trickier because I basically got more surface area I need to cover, so I kind of do a combo of things where I do the sawhorse on this side, and then I've got this fire pit over here, which actually will completely block the wind from blowing on that. And I might turn it a little bit, but it not only does it block the wind again, but I can wrap the frost cloth around that as my supporting structure. Ice cream beans I probably won't cover. If they get burnt to the ground, the roots aren't, it's not going to get cold enough to freeze the roots, so even if they get burnt to the ground above ground, they'll grow back probably pretty dang fast. The only ice cream bean that I will cover is probably going to be, I might cover this Inga spectabilis in here, just because it's the only one I have. We'll see. We'll see what material I have available. I just wanted to get established. I don't want to lose it. I've got tons of these Ingaviras. The one out front is pretty messed up right now, but these ones seem to have handled the cold pretty well, like almost no damage on them. The only damage on this one, actually, some critter like bit the top off of that. But I'm not going to cover the avocados. They don't need it at all. I don't think the Imbe need to be covered. Might cover the smaller ones. We'll see. I think I'll put another 25-gallon pot over them just to buffer the wind off of them. But I think once they are larger, they don't really need it. My fruiting lemon drop, you can see I've got a little bit of a structure here. Basically just a tomato cage. And I've got these like aluminum or steel pipes that I got from something that I had shipped to me a while ago. And I've been using those as I just hammer them into the ground and use it as support. But again, on this one, just protecting it from the north side wind. I might double wrap this one, just because it is a fruiting tree. But the cage is just high enough to where it clears the top. Actually, these leaves did get burned off in the last cold. But again, I put it on the north side, so when I wrap it, there's a little bit of buffer from the wind. Another one that probably doesn't need to be covered, but I do it anyways because it's my favorite tree, is this Cambuca. So I just got a couple of pieces of wood that I'll use to make sure that at least the frost cloth is a little bit higher than the plant itself. Now this one, I'm not too worried if the leaves are touching, just because it is pretty dense. If I lose a couple leaves, it's whatever. It was probably going to drop those leaves in the summertime anyways, as it grows out. But it didn't even really, it didn't get phased last time. Tomato plants did okay, and I barely covered. I pretty much just wrapped the north side and over the top to keep the frost from settling on it as well. So that's kind of the main goal here, is just to keep the wind off. I'm not trying to raise the ambient temperature, I guess is what I'm saying. Like this Garcinia in here is going to be fine. I won't cover any of this at all. So I've got it under the bananas, just to keep the air from settling on it. I will water these in pretty well as well, so they don't get their roots bit by the cold. But it'll be fine in here. I did plant my Ingavira, or one of my Ingaviras, in the ground here. I need to stake it up actually, but probably what we'll do is probably put a 25-gallon pot over this one too. It's kind of leaning a bit. Make sure it's not hurting its roots over here. I planted it a little higher up. I think it's just leaning because it's full of water now. It just rained. So we'll get that staked up maybe after the cold. We'll see. Then again, these Garcinias here, I'll just put the pots over, and then that shade cloth over the top. I'll just put something to weigh it down. I've got a bunch of seedling red jabos over here. These will get, probably won't do anything with these. I also have a Eugenia burkhartiana. I'll probably put a pot over that. You can see that some of these seedlings did get a little cold damage. That's interesting because there's new growth out that didn't. So I'm not sure what that's all about. But the June plum here is pretty wrecked. I think it was already dropping its leaves before the previous frost came. So, and it kind of does that. It like cycles old branches to new branches every year. And I just don't get fruit off of it anyways, so I'm not worried about it at all. I need to prune these back. It's getting pretty big. But it does provide protection from the heat over here in the summertime. But we'll hold off on any pruning. And then coming out into the front, I'm probably going to cover up my sweet tart mango here. Let me get over to it. As you can see, there's a little bit of cold damage, and that was what was touching the frost cloth. But really, again, all I'm looking for is protecting my graft unions. So like down here, you can see that big fat graft tip there. There's another one here, another one just kind of higher up. I just want to make sure that those don't get frozen. I don't have to start over. I pretty much can't protect anything out here. I just, I've got this pomegranate, doesn't need it. The cherry of the Rio Grande doesn't need it. These Pitanga tubas don't need it. None of the Myrtaceae out here really need it. This jackfruit though, it did get burnt a little bit in the cold last time. I think it'll be okay. I can't cover it obviously, but we'll just have to make do. Honestly, if it burns down to like under the height of the house, that's okay with me as well. This is more of an experiment, but It is turning into a large tree. They are large trees, and it's doing what large trees do. So if this helps me control it a bit, that's okay. Um, Now I might even prune this thing back and try to pull the canopy out a little bit to cover some of the other spots over here to hopefully induce some kind of flowering in the future too. Um, so rather than it being a tall tree that never fruits, get as much light as possible to the trunk. Keep it lower than the house. Everything in this area that is like up against the house seems to be pretty good on the frost hardiness there. But like again, there's no cover in this ice cream bean here. You can see it. It's already just showing the damage from the chill last time. It's gonna have to put up with it for a little bit longer. But yeah, we'll see how well it does when it comes back during the summer. Um, Again, I'm not going to prune it until probably after March if I need to. But interestingly, I think I pointed this out before too, is, and I hope, I hope this cold doesn't mess them up, but these really dense new growth like nodules all up the branch, up until just about the tips, are actually okay. They didn't really seem to mind the cold at all. So maybe the tree is just getting hardier to that. Maybe there's some genes activating that are going to allow it to be more adapted to the cold. I know that is a thing. So, and in my experience, ice cream beans do kind of get stronger year after year to various conditions. So they're kind of incredible in that way. It's a plant that's from the freaking Amazon rainforest, and it can just handle all sorts of weather conditions. Over here, probably what I'm going to do is, I know I covered this jawbo up before to try and protect the new growth, but it looks like the new growth got kind of cooked anyways, and yeah, that's from the cold last time. And actually, I think it was because it was setting on the frost cloth, but probably what we're going to do this time, instead of putting a frost cloth over it, just to keep the wind off, I'm just going to park my car right here. So, you know, that's another method that you can do, I suppose, because we're just wanting to get the wind off. You know, the guava tree here is kind of protecting it above, but really it's like the wind coming in, because I think it's going to be coming this way. And there's not really any tree buffer. There is buffer up against the wall. But anyways, park the car close to the plant. It should help keep the wind off of it. I'm not going to do anything to this side of the house. Because it's on the south side of the wall. Like, we just get the radiating heat from the sun shining during the day, and then it's protected from the wind completely. This Grimmichama, has new growth on it, and it was completely unfazed. So I wouldn't be surprised if it gets damaged this coming week, but really my main goal is just making sure nothing dies, I guess, at the end of the day. That's what I'm looking for. And yeah, so pretty much that's kind of my plan. Just really, other than that, everything else in the lanai is going to get pushed up against the wall or under the overhang, or shoved into the little greenhouse. I will have the space heater running in the greenhouse because I've got a cow and a breadfruit in there, and I don't want them to get set back whenever they're in pots. So they'll be fine in there. The space heater keeps it. I can keep it like 65 degrees in there with seemingly no damage to my power bill. So it's just a small square footage. But yeah, summarize, putting pots over things that are small enough to have pots over the top of them, frost cloth on things that I really care about, and anything too big, good luck. And if those things that are too big die, we'll just replace them with things that don't die when it gets cold, like, you know, maybe more jawbos. We'll see. You can't have too many jawbos. But anyways, y'all, stay warm if you're up north. I'm hoping you're as warm as you can be. But we'll all get through this week, and hopefully we'll get some cool stuff happening this year. So take care, y'all.